Thank you, George. Thank you for that introduction. It feels a little uncomfortable speaking after Kawashima-san and Enki-san, but I will try to fit in. I'm going to talk about my journey with UNISEC Global, and I will be focusing mainly on the actual journey. The, the theme for today's meeting is reflecting on our journey. And I intend in this presentation to focus on that important word, the journey. And before I go next to my presentation, I would like you to remember a journey or a trip you took recently and find three main components of that journey that you took, or maybe a trip. So if you're on the same page with me, you will find these three main components of the journey: the start, the process, and the destination. Kawashima-san recently mentioned about the Vision 2030, maybe that's the destination. So now, in my case, I have a start. I have the process of which I'm going to mention, and then the destination, which is finding a bridge between health and space, and actually, if there is, try to bridge health and space. Now, still on this, I want to ask another question. Among the three main components of the journey, which one is more important to you? You don't have to answer. Maybe you can put an answer in the chat. If you're still on the same page with me, I believe the main component is not the start. To some people, it could be the destination, but to me, in this journey I'm going to talk about today, and probably most of the journeys I've taken, the most important part is the process. And here is why I'm saying that it's actually the process. The reason is, in my case, the process of the journey I took, it involves UNISEC Global. And why that is very important is because UNISEC provided me a room of learning, for growing, for developing, of which I can all put together and say, get wiser. The destination is still there. It's not moving, but the process is more important because I get to learn and get wiser and make sure that I stay on the right track towards the destination. So a little bit of the background of me with UNISEC. Some of you may have seen me behind scenes on Virtual UNISEC-Global Meeting and some other places. But let me talk about a little bit about how I got here and since when. I joined UNISEC Global in March 2022, and that's where the activities I've been working on started. And then in July and August, I got a rare opportunity that we'll touch on in a few moments. And then I'm expected to graduate in March 2023. To be honest, I would rather stay with UNISEC Global, but I have to graduate anyways. So now, here is a few of expectations that I had before I joined UNISEC, of which I divide into 5 groups: bridge, explore, pick, brush, and expand, of which means bridging health and space was my primary target, and exploring my career exploration was another, but also the possibility of establishing a new local chapter in Rwanda. And then 3, pick up new skills. As a university student, that's one of the things I was looking at, but also brush up on the current skills that I already have. And then lastly, expand my professional network. I will still touch on this in a moment as well. So if you remember my second slide, I talked about how UNISEC is forging me, what UNISEC is turning me to, how UNISEC is giving me a room to grow, develop, and learn. One of these is through the activities I work on with UNISEC Global, which is Virtual UNISEC-Global Meeting, which give me the network that I actually need to grow in this field. The admission idea contest, where I get to actually know space missions which exist or which are planned in the future. And the CLTP, where I actually get to know more about satellites. Some of these I worked on behind the scenes, just like Virtual UNISEC-Global Meeting. And also also, I get in touch with most of you via emails, those who do contact UNISEC Global Secretariat sometimes. And it didn't end there. Like I mentioned in the intro, in August, I got a rare opportunity with funding, actually, which was to actually travel to Rwanda, where I went to explore the opportunity, the possibility of establishing a new local chapter. Well, if I go deeper into this, that would be another chapter to talk about in a different session. But one of the things to mention here is how thankful I am for that opportunity that UNISEC Global and Nashonaga Foundation offered, where I went to Rwanda and actually learn more about space in sector in Rwanda and actually see if there is a possibility of having a local chapter. And that's me at Rwanda Space Agency with the Chief Strategic Officer of Rwanda Space Agency. And it does not end there. So being at UNISEC, like I said, provided me a room for me to learn and still stay on the target, the destination that I want to reach. So I did a little bit of a homework while I'm working with UNISEC Global, and it wouldn't have happened without being at UNISEC, because UNISEC was a motivation and provide that room for learning. And in my homework, I found that space tech has so many to offer to health industry, and that's what I was looking for. I'm always about saving lives, and what that space tech has to offer for saving lives, actually, that's one of the things I was able to do homework about. And I'm sure most of you are already familiar with space, unlike me, who wasn't until March 2022. So may be already aware that space tech is being used in monitoring, in medical consultations, in treatment, as well as diagnosis. Let me stay on this for a while. So space tech is used in things like treating emergencies remotely, the medical database, as well as monitoring life signals remotely. Like, for instance, if I have a pacemaker or if I have heart problems, people with pacemakers are not most likely to travel because in case of emergency, it's very hard to support. With satellite technology, now you can easily be monitored remotely and just leave Japan and go to Africa without problems with that pacemaker, which is being connected to the satellite. So it makes things easier now. And being at UNISEC offered a room to learn all of this I'm mentioning here. But the other thing I want to mention, some of you who know me, I'm not sure if there are so many of those. I have a youth organization which works on malaria. And I followed to see if there is actually anything that space technology has to offer. And I found that actually space technology is being used to track where mosquitoes are living, the habitats of mosquitoes, and also the human activities which affect the habitats of mosquitoes, which is one of the ways of controlling malaria and its movement. So now being here, learning all of this has been a great experience and one way to improve my knowledge. Now, still on this one, I have to go with the time. I want to talk about a few main things. The main takeaways. Being at UNISEC with UNISEC Global, of course, the journey continues. I'm still with UNISEC until next March, and maybe after that. What did I take? What did I get from all of this? One, I would say the professional feedbacks. Kawashima-san was on this Zoom stage earlier, and I would like to say thank you to say thank you to her in front of all of you for the professional feedbacks. This is a very rare, especially for us in university. And then two, the professional network. Just being at this room, being at Virtual UNISEC-Global Meeting is an opportunity to network and get more important networks that are actually going to be useful as I go forward towards my destination. And then three, the work experience. This is also rare for university students to get, especially for people who internship is something which is not easy to find. Some of you may already be aware of this. Then lastly is the knowledge that I gained through this entire process. Now, moving to the next part, I would like to talk about what's next. Next, the career exploration continues. And then I get prepared to join the professional world. And the room for learning and growing is still there. So I intend to stay in that room and continue to learn and grow in the new journeys as I go forward with this one. And then I also intend to keep expanding my professional network. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. But I want to close with one of the proverbs that most of you may know. Since this entire event is about the journey, I want to quote this one. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. Kawashima-san likes to mention this, but let me quote her or quote the African proverb again. So when I looked at this, I made my own quote, which goes with actually what I've been talking about. And it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go further, learn, grow, and develop, then go together. Which brings me to a closing where I say thank you to UNISEC Global for giving me that opportunity to actually be on my side in that process where I go forward towards my destination. Once again, thank you to Kawashima-san and the UNISEC Global at large, and all of you for listening to this presentation.